Hello everybody, and now we will begin with lecture 2 of the subject Microeconomics. Now, our main part of this lecture understand the concept of the market forces and price mechanism, explain the laws of demand and supply, analyze difference between movement along the demand curve and shift to the curve, identify sequence of the condition of demand and supply, explain the concept of market equilibrium and the importance of equilibrium in the market theory, describe this equilibrium condition, and the final one is examine changes in equilibrium. Now we should begin with our presentation. Market forces, supply and demand. There are some questions about this. What is a market? Who are the main players on the market? Who determines demand and what? Who determines supply and what? What about the market forces, supply and demand? Now I give you the definition of market. Actually, a market is a group of buyers and sellers of a particular good or service. Two price mechanism. Buyer determines demand and the seller determines supply. So what are demand and what are supply? Good question. And demand as a amount of commodity that will be purchased at a given price of the consumer at a point in time. Demand curve is a downward sloping line reacting price to quantity demanded. And the market demand. Market demand is sum of all individual demands for particular good or service. Market demand curve with individual demand curve summed horizontally. Because law demand, an important task here is law demand. There exists an inverse or indirect relationship between price and quantity demanded. As a result, the demand curve slopes downward from the left to the right. Moving on to the next task, a trend in demand. Trending quantity demanded and trending demand. Trending quantity demanded caused by what? Movement of shift. Trending demand caused by what? Movement of shift. We will look at some determinant of demand. Demand, market price and movement, condition demand and shift. Then there's some condition affecting to the demand. They are the real income, the prices of related goods, the technology, the touches, the change in population, the expectation, advertising, climate changes. The condition of demand, real income. Trend in real income. There are two main goods here: the trend demand for normal goods and trend demand for inferential goods. Normal good is a goods that is affected by income. Normally, if the income increase, the demand for that good increase too. And what is inferior good? Inferior good is opposite to the normal good. It means that when the income of a person decreases, the demand for that good increase. And condition of demand also be affected by some factors such as related goods, for example, complementary goods or components, substitute goods. What is complementary goods? Complementary goods are two or more goods that are used together. Example as the bread and sorry, and substitute goods are similar goods that are equal or able to satisfy demand. For example, ice cream and yogurt. Now let's move on to the other part of the lecture, which is conditional demand, trend, price, and substitute. When the fall in price of a good reduces the demand for another good, the two goods are substituted. When the fall in price of a good increases the demand for another good, the two goods are complements. Now we will look at the concept of supply. Supply defined as the ability and willingness of producer to offer for sale a good or service at a certain price at a point in time. The quantity supplied, the amount of quantity of goods the seller will need to make available for sale at alternative prices for a given period. Market supply. Market supply is a sum or unusual supply for a seller of a particular goods or service. The market supply curve obtained by graphically summarizing usual supply curve horizontally. Change in quantity supplied versus change in supply. Change in quantity supplied caused by change in price of product movement along the supply curve. Change in supply caused by change in non-price factor, except in a supply curve either to the left or to the right. And below look at the determinants of supply. There's some determinant of supply. The improvement of technology, change in production cost, expectation, change in number of producers, and the final one is climate changes. Now we will consider market equilibrium. And what market equilibrium is? Market equilibrium price is the price at which the supply and demand curve intersect. Quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal. Equilibrium quantity is the quantity at which the supply and demand curve intersects. And now we consider what this equilibrium condition is. This in equilibrium condition has two main types. The first one is excess supply and the second one is excess demand. Causes of this equilibrium condition. What about the excess supply? It is caused by price rise, new price per equilibrium level, and excess demand caused by price fall, equals a new under equilibrium level. Now, an important part in this picture is price floor and price ceiling, and this equilibrium condition. A price ceiling legally established maximum price which a seller can charge buyer must pay. A flop, a price floor, a legally established minimum price which seller can charge or buyer must pay. A price ceiling and its effect. A price ceiling is the legal maximum of the price at which goods can be sold. Two possible outcomes. Non-binding price ceiling had no effect at all. Binding price ceiling, great assorted. And price floor and its effects. A price floor is a legal minimum on the price at which a good can be sold. Two possible outcomes can be occur is non-binding price floor. It has no effect at all. And what about binding price floor? It creates a surplus. To analyze the change in equilibrium, we have three steps. The first one, decide whether the event safe to the supply or demand curve above supply and demand curve. The second one, decide whether the curve shifts to the right, curve shifts to the left or to the right. And the final one, examine how safe affect equilibrium price and quantity. Now, that's this for the lecture 2. In this lecture, we have looked at concept the market forces and price merchandise mechanism, laws of demand and supply, condition of demand and supply, macroequilibrium, its equilibrium condition, and the final changes in condition, change in equilibrium. Now, bye bye, see ya for the next chapter.